The Marian Central Hurricanes enter the final week of the prep football season with hopes of advancing into the postseason. The Hurricanes are at a 5-3 mark. With a win tonight, 6 victories can put them into the playoffs. The only problem for Marian Central's way is getting some help from the non-conference opponents. Tonight on TCI's prep football game of the week, the Marian Central Hurricanes will host the Johnsburg Skyhawks. I'm Rusty Silver along with Curtis Gentry, and what an imposing night, final night for the seniors on the field. And if the Hurricanes could get away and get past the Johnsburg Skyhawks, they will certainly have the nod up of getting into postseason play. Curtis, thanks for joining me here. And Curtis, what do you think about these two ball clubs? You had a chance to talk to the coaches before the ball game.
Rusty, this is, again, it's always a pleasure to work with you. This is a backyard squabble, these two teams not being too far apart. And tonight, Johnsburg is trying to play the spoiler to keep the Hurricanes from that 6th victory, which would put them in the playoffs. And I talked with Coach Hap Farlow before the game, and he does have some people injured, but he's still expecting a good ball game from his charges. And so it'll be an interesting night. We'll see if Marian Central is up to the task of getting into that playoff via winning this football game.
Well, this season has been tough for Hap Farlow and the Johnsburg Skyhawks. Very tough indeed. 4 players are injured. They won't be seeing any action tonight. Sean Roby, Chad Germain, Jason Guida, and Kenny Michaels. 2 of the guys are linemen, and the other 2 are key players in the backfield. Sean Roby, a wide receiver, and Chad Germain, a running back. So that is crucial for the Skyhawks and their offensive punch that they had what we saw back about 3 or 4 weeks ago against the Round Lake Panthers, in which they lost 42-26. The Marian Central Hurricanes will have the football first. They'll be going from left to right. John Paul Dudley, all 6'4" of them, ready to kick it off at the 40-yard line. This is a cool night tonight. So cool. We got our hats and gloves on, and they were nice enough to put the heaters on for us down at our feet, so we'll stay warm as we do the broadcast.
I can sure appreciate that.
Temperatures in the 30s, and we may see our first snowflakes of the season. A squib kick by Dudley, and this will be picked up about the 23-yard line. Dowdy's got a little bit of running room across the 35 to the 37-yard line.
I was just getting ready to say before John Paul kicked off that he looked like, with his height, a man among boys out there, and then he goes and kicks the football about 20 yards. So I guess you can't tell by looking.
Marian Central office led by Jim Klassen. Running backs will see Todd McCoy, Tony Gitzinger, and Jason Liska in the backfield. The offensive line, Neo Dose at center. Guard Jess Scarda along with Tim Day. Tackles Colin McConnell and Sean Gaffney. And the tight end will be Jim Dowdy at wide receiver and Jason Vandali at tight end. This is a running play. McCoy for a couple of yards out to the 38-yard line.
Coach Farlow told me before the football game that he was looking for Marian Central to just try and come out in that power eye as they did that time and just run the football down his young men's throats. So we'll see what develops.
We've seen all year this strong Marian Central offense led by Jason Liska in the backfield has carried the football 150 times for 850 yards. Liska off the left side has some running room, breaks through, fights his way towards the first down marker. He'll pick up about 6 yards on the play out to the 43-yard line.
That was a quick pitch off the tackle to the left, and it gained a good yard. There was good blocking at the point of attack. We had 2 lead backs and a kick out.
So 3rd down, short yardage. Let's call it about 1 yard. Dowdy comes out to the near side. 3-back set. Klassen underneath center. Klassen looking to throw, comes out to the near side. Dowdy reaches for it off his fingertips, and it's an incomplete pass. You talk about a cold night, that's where you don't want to have the football on your fingertips because it's going to sting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And until these young men get warmed up and get those corpuscles, passing, and all those things that the guys have to get warmed up to do, they're going to be just a little bit cold.
4th down, Marian looks to be punting. Winkleman with a punt to the near side. Brandon Goff will watch it bounce, go over his head, and this looks like it'll be down around the 21-yard line. So not an all-great kick, but a 34-yard punt with no return, and the Johnsburg Skyhawks will start up on offense.
Again, it never ceases to amaze me why these young men, especially on a nice punt like that, do not come up and fair catch the football instead of letting it hit. It always goes beyond where they're standing. I know it looks good to stand back there and jump out of the way, but they should come up and fair catch that ball.
John Paul Dudley at quarterback. He's going to start out looking to throw on first down, coming out the near side to Bierman, and Bierman had it on one hand. He could have just reeled that in, but it's incomplete pass to start up on the first play. Let's set up the offense for this injury-riddled Skyhawk team. At quarterback, we mentioned John Paul Dudley. In the backfield, we'll have Mike Cohan. At halfback, we'll have Lloyd Jacobs. At center, Jay Frost. The guards, Peter Weber and Corey Glenn. The tackles will be Sam Posey and Scott Diedrich. Tight end will be Tim Hiller. Second down, Dudley to look and throw once again, going to the far side of the field. Too far, he was trying to go to Mike Cohan, and it goes a little bit too far. Now the wind also playing a little bit of factor, blowing from mainly the right side of the field to the left about 10 miles per hour. I think the quarterbacks will have a little bit of a problem throwing the football.
Well, maybe yes, maybe no. John Paul looked very good on that pass, and that first pass that he threw, that pass was very catchable. Bierman, he only put one hand up because I think that he thought that defensive back was too close to him.
This time Dudley sets his team up in a double wing, and this is a handoff. Jacobs, some running room off the right end. Will pick up a couple of yards, just shy of the 24-yard line. In on the tackle for the Marian Central Hurricanes is Chris Nixon.
Lloyd Jacobs on the carry for Johnsburg.
A couple of yards, and looks like the Skyhawks are going to have to punt the football.
Yes, that's very true. Again, talking to Coach Farlow before the ball game, he told me that they would probably put the ball up 20 or 25 times tonight. Obviously, he does not think that he could run against this tough Marian Central defense.
Dudley with a high kick. And this is going to be muffed and lost, and fortunately it looks like the Hurricanes are going to recover it. Liska had problems, maybe lost it in the lights, but Marian Central recovered the football. Really fortunate kick, a 31-yard punt, and Scarda was the one to recover the football at the 48-yard line in Skyhawk territory.
They were very fortunate on that, and the National Football League, they don't call that a fumble, they call that a muff. So I don't know what they do here at the high school level, but the Hurricanes were very fortunate to get that ball back. It just shows that they are having people around the football.
Well, Marian Central starting out in great field position on this drive at the 48-yard line. They send Jim Dowdy out as a wide receiver near side, and quick count by Liska, handoff up the middle. McCoy will push his way across the 45 up to the 44-yard line, and a couple Skyhawks in on the tackle led by Paul Artman.
Well, so far it seems like Marian Central is doing exactly as Coach Farlow said that they were going to do, is line up in that power eye and just run the football to see if they can overcome the Johnsburg defensive 11. And from looking at them, it seems that they sure do have the size to do it. At this point, I think it's just a matter of execution.
Second down, about 7 at the 45-yard line, the ball marked. Klassen. Handoff this time. Liska, some running room, breaks free, cuts it back through the middle, spinning his way, still on his feet, 30, and down to the 24-yard line. John Paul Dudley was the one to bring him down. A 24-yard pickup on the play.
There was a combination of things that made that play work. First of all, the blocking at the point of attack was good, and it was crisp. And then when the running back broke, there were several missed tackles on him. So it was a good play all around for the Hurricanes.
Jason Liska last week leading the Hurricanes to victory over Wakanda. 10-yard run in the overtime, and then also went in on the point after for the winning score. Liska off the far side trying to go wide down the sideline, cuts it back, pushed out of bounds. He'll be near the marker at about the 15-yard line.
I noticed that time that Marian Central was unbalanced to the left, and so I'm going to see if Johnsburg is making an adjustment to that with their defense, but they were unbalanced, strong left.
Let's go with a 9-yard pickup. 3 carries now for a total of 39 yards. Third down 1. Handoff, McCoy, a couple yards up to about the 20, or make it the 14-yard line. This could be enough for the first down.
Should be enough for the first down.
They're going to give him the first down.
Yep. I did notice that Johnsburg is overplaying the unbalance to counteract what the Hurricanes are doing. So when the Hurricanes go unbalanced left, they have more men to their right on the defensive side, or just as many men to their right on the defensive side as the offense has.
Dowdy set out wide. Three-back set once again, McCoy. Liska. This is going to be a pitch out. Liska coming back on a nice cut, going to the outside. He's going to go to the end zone. Touchdown for the Hurricanes. 13 yards for Jason Liska. When he gets in the open field, nobody's going to stop him.
He's quite an accomplished runner. I remember him from last year. And again, the thing that made that play go, it was just a simple off-tackle play with a kick out on the end and a lead blocker taking the running back through the hole. And from there, it was Katie bar the door. 6 points for the Hurricanes. And it was just like Coach Farlow said, not one time during that series of downs did they attempt to pass. So I think that what's going to have to happen is that Johnsburg is going to have to do something rather than just sit there and let them run the football down their throats.
Klassen ready to hold it for Tony Gitzinger. Flag, and this probably going to be a delay of game unless somebody jumped on the line. Referee talking and conferring, and it's going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct against the Johnsburg Skyhawks. So apparently somebody said something they shouldn't have said out there.
Well, as easily as that touchdown was scored on him, I'd be somewhat angry too.
And if I know Dave Profit moved this up to about the 1.5 yards, or actually the 2-yard line in what it's called, we'll go for 2 here.
Half the distance to the goal line.
Dowdy set up real wide, almost out to the sideline. And this is a handoff. Liska fighting his way, will not get into the end zone. He'll be stopped just shy. John Paul Dudley with the tackle. So with 7:28 left to go first quarter, the Hurricanes leading 6-0.
Rusty, I think that in watching the first series of downs by Johnsburg, I think that they're going to have to try and establish the run. I just don't think that at this level, unless you have a tremendous passing combination, that you can come out and start passing and expect to win the football game, and there again against a team like Marian Central. So I think that they're going to have to try and establish a running game to open up the passing game instead of the other way around.
Well, that's the one situation in which Johnsburg has to get things going, and Marian Central all year running. We mentioned Jason Liska, 851 yards in 8 ball games. Todd McCoy, 63 attempts for 236 yards. And then you can also throw in there Tony Gitzinger, 159 yards on 27 attempts. And even Jim Klassen's run the football for 117 yards. So this is definitely a run-oriented team, and we'd like to thank the coaching staff here at Marian Central in supplying these great numbers. Boy, I wish all schools would supply this. We should make that mandatory for next year.
Right. Tell them we don't do the telecast.
Winkleman to kick it off. A line drive kick will bounce and picked up by Cohan about the 12-yard line. He's got some running room far side and tackled down across the 30 to the 33-yard line.
Okay, let's see what's going to happen with this Johnsburg offense. As I said before, I don't think that they can start out passing to open up the running game. I think they're going to have to do just the opposite, but we'll see what their coach has in mind. They'll be operating from about their 22-yard line.
First and 10, Cohan in motion. This is going to be a handoff, and not much yardage there, maybe a yard or two. But that could have fooled a lot of people.
Well, it was a little counteraction, but obviously it didn't fool the Hurricane linemen to any great degree, because they only picked up a couple of yards.
It'll be 2nd and 8.
But I think that if you're going to do something against a team like Marian Central, you're going to have some deception in the backfield if, in fact, the blocking is as it should be.
Dudley going to give a handoff to Cohan. Not much running room there. Maybe back to the line of scrimmage. He might have even lost a yard on the play.
It certainly looks like it. Again, I just don't think that you can just run a straight dive against the team in red. I think that they're too well coached. I think that they're too athletic, and you're just going to have to try and do something with some deception in the backfield.
Chris Nixon was in on that last tackle. So second, make it 3rd down and about 7. Ball at the 35-yard line. Cohan in motion. Fake handoff. Dudley looking to pass, and he's got his receiver complete. First down out to the 50-yard line. He's got Tim Hiller on the reception. So this will be a 15-yard pickup.
Well, now that's exactly what I was talking about deception in the backfield, because they had counteraction with bootleg and then the throw. And again, they're going to have to try and fool Marian Catholic rather than try to go chest to chest with them. And that was a smart play that time by Coach Farwell. Great call.
1st and 10. Ball's into Marian Central territory at the 49-yard line. Split wide receivers, fake handoff. Dudley rush coming on, gets it over the middle, picked off.
Intercepted. He should go.
40, 35, 30. Looks like he's going to try to cut it back. 20, 15, and then tackle down up at the 5-yard line. Neil Dose into the coverage in the secondary, took it back 45 yards.
That was the same play that they ran the play before, but it was just to the opposite side, and it was just very poorly thrown by the quarterback, John Paul Dudley. And it was a great interception by the linebacker, and I thought he was going to go all the way, but what can you expect from a linebacker? Had it been a defensive back, he probably would have scored.
Neil Dose with a 45-yard interception return.
So the Hurricanes will have the ball 1st and goal at their 5-yard line.
Now the first turnover by the Johnsburg Skyhawks. They've had problems really all year with that. Only one victory, the game against St. Edward. Wish they had a couple of turnovers in that ball game. You're not going to win too many games when you have a lot of turnovers.
Against this team, they can't afford them. They cannot afford them.
Liska bouncing off and going into the end zone. Liska scores his 2nd touchdown of the night, this time from 5 yards.
Well, nothing complicated about that. There was just some missed tackles and a bounce off of a defensive lineman who did not wrap, and then he just waltzes into the end zone. And again, I think that what's going to need to happen for Johnsburg is that they're going to have to do something defensively. Instead of reacting to what the Hurricanes do, I think they're going to have to do some blitzing in order to make some things happen defensively and possibly have some turnovers.
Hurricanes will go for the extra point. Tony Gitzinger on. Klassen waiting to set the ball down. High snap, placement down. The kick is going to be wide to the left. So Gitzinger kind of hooks it left. So with 5:02 left to go here in the first quarter, Marian Central leading 12-0.
Rusty, I think that Johnsburg, now, in running that wing T with all of the deception, I think that's great. One of the toughest things that I coached against when I was a college football coach was trying to defend against the wing T offense. But in order to make the wing T offense successful, you've got to have precision blocking and you have to execute well. And that's what Johnsburg is going to have to do in order to beat this football team that they're playing against this evening.
Well, Johnsburg's going to need to get something going if they want to stay in this ball game. And last year when these two teams played each other, of course a long year ago, was 27-12 in which Marian Central beat the Skyhawks. And maybe the seniors for Johnsburg can get themselves on the board with a better drive than what they just had.
Well, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Again, they're playing against a well-coached football team, and they just cannot afford to make any mistakes. It's just that simple.
Chad Camp and Scott Bierman back, waiting for the kick. Winkleman will send the spinning kick to the near side. Jacobs comes up with it. 23-yard line, goes to the middle. Still on his feet, breaks through a couple tackles, then tackled down at the 33-yard line. Leading the way on the tackle.
First and 10, Johnsburg.
Well, we'll see what Johnsburg is coming up with. Again, I think that at this point they've got the right kind of offense going, but again, they just cannot afford to make any mistakes.
I formation this time. Goff on the near side, Hiller on the far side. Handoff. Jacobs is going to get strung down in the backfield. A big tackle by Andy Racanelli, 5'9", 155, and only a sophomore.
That was great penetration by Andy, and when you're trying to run the ball, you can't have anybody on the defensive team that penetrates that well, and consequently, he was thrown for about a 2-yard loss.
So second down, let's call it about 13 yards to go. Split backfield this time. This is going to be handoff. Behrman nowhere to go. The Hurricanes defense is certainly being stingy. Credit that tackle to Chris Nixon.
Well, again, you had penetration in the backfield, and what one of those offensive linemen is not doing is beating his man on the line of scrimmage, because, again, there was penetration. They lost about another 2 yards, and Coach Farwell and his coaching staff is going to have to come up with something over there that's going to stop those young men from penetrating.
I know Farlow has certainly got to put this together somehow. You know.
Thank you.
You know, the funniest thing is, last week with Wakanda, we'll get it with Kevin Cada. Rush coming on. Dudley's going to take it himself forward. Gets only back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a little more, as he is swarmed under. Good pursuit by the Marian Central defense to catch up on that run through the middle. So a gain of 5, and the Skyhawks will have to punt.
At this point, it just looks like the Johnsburg offense is just hapless against the Marian Central defense. And, I don't know what Coach Farlow can do. Maybe he needs to get the big guy running the football more. You know, he passes, he throws, he kicks. He's a triple threat. So maybe he just needs to get him involved more in the offense, other than just handing the football off. 4th down and 8. Dudley back to kick about 32-yard line. Liska waiting for it. Rush coming on. Good kick. He gets hit, but I don't see any flags down, and the kick goes out of bounds near the 25-yard line. Now, I saw Dudley go down. No flags on the play. Let's see where exactly they marked this to be about the 26, so this will be about a 42-yard punt with no return.
Spot will be made at the 24-yard line.
Well, here we go. And what I want to see relative to the Johnsburg defense, I want to see if they do any blitzing, because, again, they just cannot react to what the Hurricanes are doing. They've got to make something happen. So I'm going to see if Coach Farlow has ordered any blitzing in order to slow down the Hurricane offense.
That's a tough thing to do, the way they've been running the football. They were slowed down last week against Wakanda for about a half, but that was about it. 3-back set. Dowdy, wide receiver, rolling, keeping himself as Klassen tackled down after a short gain on the play, as he was brought down by Derek Braun and Tim Hiller for the Skyhawks.
There was no blitz on that. That was a triple option play. There was no blitz on that. And again, if any team runs the option, you can't do any blitzing, because each individual player against the option has a specific assignment. So you actually, coaches don't like to blitz against the option. I know I didn't.
I don't think many want to. They get away pretty quick to those offensive lines. Dowdy set up on the far side. 3-back set. Klassen will hand off this time. Some running room straight through the middle. Gitzinger's going to go all the way down the field. 35, 31 man to beat. Cuts it back and then taken out of bounds at the 18-yard line. Hiller with the saving tackle at about the 18, but a nice gain on the play. Oh, let's see. Boy, oh boy. So 52 yards.
That was a well-designed, it was counteraction, off tackle. He broke it. The blocking was crisp at the line of scrimmage. I thought he was going to score, but the safety man had the angle on him, so he didn't make it in.
Actually, a 54-yard pickup on the play, and boy, the offensive line doing it again. And we've seen this throughout the conference the entire year. Once those offensive linemen break things open, these running backs certainly get their yardage. Klassen. Keeping himself, looking to run. Maybe he'll throw it. No, he's going to go cut back, go out to the outsides. Running room, going towards the end zone and into the end zone for a touchdown. A 18-yard quarterback keeper. And the Hurricanes are on the board again.
As much as I hate to say this, being a defensive back, the real key to that score was the fact that the wide receiver, number 86, Jim Dowdy, made a tremendous block on the defensive back, allowing the quarterback to go in for the score.
You can credit Tony Gitzinger to set up the score with a 54-yard run just before this last play. So Gitzinger will try it again. He's about the only person who hasn't done anything to achievement. Of course, he's only had one actual try. So his second attempt for the evening on the extra point. Placement down, Gitzinger puts it through the uprights this time. Nope, they say it goes wide to the right. So he hooks one right, and this one goes off to the right.
Well, the way things are developing here late in the first quarter, Rusty, I don't think an extra point, a missed extra point is going to make any difference. What is happening is that Marian Central is just running the ball down the throat of Johnsburg, and it's just as Coach Farlow predicted. They were going to line up and come at him, and they can do that because they have the manpower. They have the manpower to do it. Their blocking is crisp. The running backs are hitting the holes as they should. Some of the tackling is very poor by Johnsburg, allowing the guys to get extra yardage, and that all results presently in an 18-0 score.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing some big touchdowns here early, and
yes, we have.
Unfortunately for Johnsburg, they're not going to be enjoying this one, it looks like, before it's over, unless they can get something going offensively.
Well, that backyard squabble that I mentioned as we were coming into the telecast certainly hasn't developed as yet.
Winkleman will kick off another one, coming to the near side, and whistles blow. And apparently this looks like this is going to be an offside called against Marian Central. We'll try it once again 5 yards back to the 35-yard line.
Well, just basically that time, Marian was just a little over-exuberant, and one of the guys was offside. Again, I don't think that's going to hurt them any the way things are developing thus far.
Well, we'll try this again. I'm sure Johnsburg will take an extra 5 yards any way they can get it at this point, even if they got to push the ball back on the kickoff.
You're absolutely right. They'll take any extra yardage that they can come up with.
Chad Camp and Scott Bierman back, ready to receive the kick. Winkleman will get a foot into it, and this one's a line drive kick in the middle. Brandon Goff will take this one at the 23-yard line. He's got some blocking in front of him, and coming from the backside, he spins off a tackler and then taken down at the 30-yard line. Looked like he was going to break away on that. The tackle on the play by Andy Zolik, a 6-foot, 172-pound senior.
Yes, for a minute it did look like he was going to break it after he started back to the right side, but the guys in the red uniforms gang tackled him and got him down.
Now, so far, Johnsburg has punted after 4 plays, an interception given up, and then punted once again in their last 3 times with the football. They got Brandon Goff set up wide, split backfield. Handoff Jacobs, and tackle down in the backfield. Another great tackle for Andy Racanelli, the sophomore, doing a great job, and that is great to see, especially if you're looking towards next year.
You're absolutely right. For this sophomore, he is really playing a fantastic football game. That's 3 times now that he has been into the Johnsburg backfield. I'm going to check to see if he's following a pulling guard out of there on that play. If not, he's just soundly defeating the man in front of him.
I understand the sophomores went undefeated for Marian Central, so boy, it looks to be an interesting squad. If you put Andy Racanelli back there, to be well supported.
Absolutely right.
If you lose a few seniors. Dudley rolling out, going to take it himself and be pushed out of bounds. Well, Jason Van Dalle was the one to push him out.
Yeah, one thing for sure, he's not beating a pulling guard because he's playing over the center, so he is just soundly defeating the Johnsburg center.
No gain on the play. Ball's at the 28-yard line. So 3rd down, long yardage. Let's call it about 14 yards to go. And it looks like John Paul Dudley coming into his huddle. He's going to have to make some quick movement out there. So he used quite a bit of time in the huddle. Golf set up on the far side. Split backfield, Dudley on a handoff. Gives it to Jacobs with some blocking room in front of him. Cuts it back and then tackled down from the backside.
That is their best play of the day. There was a counter sweep, It did gain some yardage, obviously not enough for the first down, but again, I think that's what they've got to do. I think they've got to attack the corners with that counter action off of that wing tee if they expect to have any success at all. Every once in a while, pepper a pass in there because certainly they don't have anything to lose.
Well, John Paul Dudley back to punt once again. Third time in the first quarter. Back at his 20-yard line. Liska waiting for this one about his 30. High snap. Gets the kick away, though. This one's boomed out of bounds at about, let's see where they mark it, somewhere between the 35 and 40. And referee, I don't know where he's going down there. 25-yard line. I don't know where he's rolling down the field there. Someone better help him there.
I've never known when a punt goes out of bounds how they determine the angle of the kick, but I guess they do it somehow or other. But I really don't think that was where it went out of bounds. It went out of bounds in the air.
Well, sometimes, these referees see the game a lot differently than some people up in the box or the fans or even the players see the game.
Than the other 65,000 people.
So 1st and 10, the Hurricanes have the football once again. Let's see if they get the playoff before the end of the quarter. 5 seconds to go. 3-back set, Dowdy up on the far side. Klassen keeps it himself, goes forward, tackled down by John Paul Dudley. This will be a 5-yard gain, and the quarter will end here 18-0. The Hurricanes leading at the end of the first quarter. Our next ball game here on TCI will be a state playoff football game, and hopefully we'll be seeing a game, most likely. Could be anybody within the Fox Valley, maybe these Marian Central Hurricanes, McHenry, or other teams. We'll see those games Thursday at 7, Monday at 4:55. So mark those times down, a little different than our normal times. Thursday at 7 and Monday at 4:55. And should be quite interesting, and the first round matchups of who's going to be playing. It should be quite quite exciting because the Fox Valley has 4 teams basically in the playoffs, and as many as 5 can get in there.
Well, certainly that would be interesting to have 5 teams from this particular area. What I wanted to say was that that last play was a broken play because when the quarterback turned, he was looking for someone to be there, and no one was there, and he just took the ball on up in the hole where the running back was supposed to be and picked up about 5 yards on it.
To start the second quarter, Marian Central just dominating this game, and Johnsburg, if they had any hopes of maybe doing an upset here, keeping Marian Central out of any playoff possibility, they're certainly not doing it.
Well, they can't let them score this quarter if they expect to win this football game and then try to maybe go in at halftime themselves and regroup.
2nd down and 5. Klassen looking to throw this time, goes out to the near side, wanted Jim Dowdy, but apparently threw it a little bit in front of him. Defending on the play was Sean Randazzo for the Skyhawks.
Well, that was a timing pass, a timing sideline pass, and it just came up. Either the ball was thrown too short, or the wide receiver went down the field too far to catch the football.
3rd down, we'll call it about 5. Ball at the Hurricane 39-yard line. Dowdy again set up on the near side. 3-back set. Klassen pitches out this time. Liska cutting through the middle. Gets some good yardage across the 40 to the 43-yard line. In on the tackle.
Number 10.
Looks like Derek Braun was the one there for the Skyhawks.
Yeah, that was a good play by Derek. I think he was the monster on that as I saw their defensive alignment. And when he saw the running play, he really got up into the hole and fielded what we used to call a force, and really forced it well and made the tackle.
That's actually the shortest yardage that Liska's had to this point. Winkleman back to kick at his 28-yard line. High snap, but there's no rush at all coming from the Skyhawks. Kick. High booming kick, and Cohan's going to down this at the 30-yard line. So
no flag on the play.
No, nothing at all on the flags, and kind of like not a long kick, about a 25-yard kick. So the Skyhawks will have the ball at the 30-yard line is where they're going to mark it.
Well, I think maybe that's the second time that they've stopped the Hurricanes this year. So maybe things on the defensive side of the ball for Johnsburg is looking up.
Actually, a flag was thrown on the far end of the field. Referees conferring at about the 32-yard line. By the looks of it, looks to be against Marian Central. So Or maybe actually against Johnsburg, the way they're walking back. Yep, a clipping called against Johnsburg. So I stand corrected on that. Probably explains why the Skyhawks are back around their 10-yard line huddling up. They kind of knew that they were the guilty ones on this one.
Looks like we have a referee that we could call the refrigerator tonight.
Actually, you know, the interesting thing about this, they're going to let Marian Central. This is really odd because the clipping must have occurred before the change of possession when the ball was kicked. Because normally it would be pushed back.
Penalty is being marked in the original.
So this is kind of odd. It looks like Marian Central's going back on offense.
That's very odd. As long as as my understanding, as long as it's a kickoff, whether the young man has received the ball or not, and it's a clip, it's a 15-yard penalty from where the clip occurred.
So this makes it a first down. The Hurricanes have the football back.
Wow, that's weird.
At the 44-yard line.
So 1st and 10 at the Skyhawk 43-yard line. This is a handoff. Running room through the middle. Strong running room by McCoy. Fought his way hard inside the 40-yard line to about the 38. So this will be a pick of about 5 or 6 yards.
Just a simple dive play, and it just shows you on that play that certainly the Hurricanes, when it comes to man-on-man blocking, certainly have the advantage. My goodness, they picked up about 5 yards on just a simple dive play.
2nd down and 5. Dowdy set up to the far side. 3-back set. Liska, the tailback, a handoff. Liska trying to go with a good move to the middle. Flag thrown. And Liska gets the first down inside the 30-yard line. In on the tackle was Sam Posey. Big Sam Posey. 6'4", 280 pounds of him.
Holding. I was just going to say that flag looked like it was being thrown in the area where there's usually holding.
And looks like it'll bring the Hurricanes back, so they'll give them, looks like a 3-yard run, and then back 10 yards for the penalty. So the ball will come back to about the 46-yard line, and this will make it a 2nd down and about 12.
From the spot of the foul, brought back 10 yards. It's 2nd and 12.
I'm still looking to see if Johnsburg is going to do some blitzing in order to try and stop this ground onslaught by Marian Central.
Klassen has Liska with him, now pitches out to him. Good time. Liska running room down the sideline and has the first down and then swarmed under at about the 31-yard line.
That was run about as well as you can run the triple option. The quarterback waited until the last minute, then pitched the ball, consequently a first down.
He's got a first down for Marian Central.
A 14-yard pickup on the play. Ball is placed at the 31-yard line.
15-yard gain for Jason Liska.
Liska now 8 carries, 76 yards. Not bad, and we're still not near even the middle part of this 2nd quarter. Again, Dowdy set up to the far side. 3-back set. Klassen, handoff, coming to the near side, running room. Getzinger pushes off his own player and then gets down inside the 20-yard line. John Paul Dudley brought him down.
He's inside 20 yards.
Good blocking at the point of attack. It took him in from the inside. The end that was blocked, he finally shed his blocker and finally made the tackle. But the blocking was good at the point of attack. Nothing but the end run. Power football is all that they're doing, and I think that's all that they figure that they have to do against an outman Johnsburg team.
Well, that's what Marian Central has done all season, Curtis. They just know how to run the football, and it's been very effective throughout the conference. Not many teams have stopped them. Wakanda did it last week in the first half, but this team, when they get in the open, they can certainly get the yardage. 1st and 10, ball at the 17-yard line. Klassen, this time handoff McCoy off the right side. Not much there, and look at Johnsburg Skyhawks pushing them back.
They had 7 men on that tackle because I only counted 4 standing. So if you're going to improve your defense, that's how you've got to do it. You've got to do quite a deal of gang tackling. And I was just thinking about the Marian Central offense. I guess they're basically like the old Green Bay Packers. They didn't do much with their offense, but what they did well enough to win 2 world championships.
Of course, you're going back a few years, aren't you?
Don't say that.
I think it's the Dallas Cowboys in this day and age. Emmitt Smith. That's one good, durable back. 2nd down 7. Klassen. Handoff, second back, Liska. He's got running room to the outside. 1 man to beat. Shakes off it, turns the corner and into the end zone. Is it a touchdown? It certainly is.
Yep.
Jason Liska, nice bit of running.
Flag on the play.
Flag back at the 15-yard line. This might come back.
Marian Central.
That's the one sad thing you don't want to see after a nice run. You go back and see this flag line down at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I think that it just means that Marian Central is just going to have to go a few yards more to score this touchdown the way that they were marching. And again, that was a counteraction in sweep. And again, as I said, they don't do much, but what they do it very well. They're bringing the ball back.
Well, they give Liska 1 and then back 10, so.
Yeah, it's going to be on about the 25-yard line.
About 3rd down and about 17 yards or 18 yards to go. Of course, with this power game, Curtis, you just don't know who's going to get it. You think Liska will, but you're not sure.
Yeah, you're true, and they use a lot of counteraction, and when they're doing that, you got to read your keys rather than look into the backfield.
3-back set, Liska the deep back. Klassen looking to throw. He's going to the far side. He's got Dowdy, and it's incomplete. A little bit of a collision with a defender who was in the area that was.
We might have roughing the passer.
Well, Sean Randazzo and
that's what it is.
Dowdy bumped, and Johnsburg gets caught for roughing the passer in the backfield. I had thought the foul was towards the end zone there before Dowdy had a chance to go for the football, that there might have been a little bit of offensive or defensive interference on a collision.
I think what the defensive back did was just trip over the offensive receiver's foot and fall down, which is a cardinal sin, but on occasions it happens.
So this will go in favor of the Hurricanes. Move the ball up the field. Probably half the distance to the goal, so it should be at about the 12-yard line.
Back judge walks the ball.
Well, actually, they walked it off complete 15 yards. Now he's changed his mind, and they moved the ball back to the 12. They first placed it at the 9. Now they moved it back to the 12.
Automatic first about the 12-yard line for Marian Central.
They can make a first down without scoring a touchdown on this, Rusty.
1st and 10. Klassen.
Reverse.
On the reverse. Coming back the other way. Dowdy cutting it back, spinning his way, still on his feet. Another flag. This might be a face mask. You know, that play certainly has worked. Last week against Wakanda got some yardage. It worked well against Round Lake. Johnsburg clapping their hands. Looked like Sam Posey was. And it's clipping called against Marian Central.
You really hate to see that happen to young men after the first time it was a touchdown, and then this time it was a nice gain. So hopefully the young men from Marian Central can keep their heads up and come back. They've been doing it all night, so I don't see any reason why it shouldn't continue. But you just hate to see it.
Well, I'll mark it back. 15 yards. Well, we're bouncing back and forth here, aren't we?
Yeah, it seems like the penalties have been the best defense that Johnsburg has had tonight.
Yeah, maybe that's something they can put into their repertoire for next year.
I think it's 1st and 20.
So I'll drop it back, and 1st down and 20 now. 4 penalties, 40 yards against Marian Central. This is going to be a handoff. Liska's got some running room, takes it to the outside and tackle down out of bounds at about the 13-yard line. Jeff Marciniak was the one to bring him down out of bounds.
just a simple counter-off tackle. And I think that Liska would have made more yardage if he had stayed up inside. He ran outside of his block heading for the sideline. I think if he had stayed up inside, he would have got much more yardage that time.
7:46 to go in the second quarter. This is prep football action. Marian Central leading the Johnsburg Skyhawks 18-0 here in the second quarter. I'm Rusty Silber, Curtis Gentry along with me tonight. Three-back set. Dowdy set up on the near side. Klassen, handoff Liska. He's got running room to the outside. He's going to take it out wide, shakes off one, but then strung down after a short gain about 5 or 6 yards to about the 7-yard line.
Is it just me, or is it nationwide and in every level where backs seem to be running for the sideline more than they have in recent years? I see backs running to the sideline, and that's the most unsafe place in the world, because when big linemen or linebackers get you on the sideline, they really try to punish you.
Now, I know we've seen it a few weeks ago when we did the semi-pro game. We saw backs try to do that.
Right,
and,
yeah.
The only thing is, actually this year we've seen a lot more come from the offensive line off the right side or right tackle. And oddly enough, Liska thinks he can get the room to the outside tonight.
Obviously.
This is a handoff going to the far
left
side. He's got running room. Will he make it to the end zone? Cuts it back and into the end zone for a touchdown. Tony Gitzinger goes in from 7 yards, and Marian Central is on the board again.
Yes, they are. That was student body left, which resulted in 6 points. They had very good blocking. They had about 3 men out in front of the ball carrier, and Litzinger went in for the score. And again, I really don't see anything that Johnsburg is doing specifically to try and stop the running game. Again, they're sitting there reacting to everything that Marian Central does without trying to do any blitzing, line stunts, or anything. And if that keeps up, it's going to be a long night for them.
Well, let's see if Tony Gitzinger can figure out where the goalposts are. He's 0 for 2 on this. And there we go. Kick is through the uprights this time. It is. 6:50 to go. I wasn't sure, but he finally got it through. 6:50 to go. 25-0. The Marian Central Hurricanes leading with, and I'll tell you, this is getting to look like an ugly game.
Yeah, I think very basically that Johnsburg is just simply overmatched tonight by a team that is personnel-wise very superior than they are. And again, but you can at least try to equalize it by blitzing, doing line stunts, trying to confuse Marian Central, but Johnsburg is not doing any of this. And as I said before, I would certainly try to get John Paul Dudley, get the ball in his hands 3 out of 3 plays, either running or passing the football.
Well, the only thing Marian Central needs to do maybe is get on the phone and contact the 4 non-conference opponents and say, listen, we need some help here. We want our share. Now we need you guys to win your share. And those 4 teams that they need help from is Aurora Central, Winnebago, Immaculate Conception, and Driscoll. All 4 of those teams pull victories. They might be able to sneak into the playoff picture.
Well, let's hope so. Certainly they have a very formidable team, and I'd like to see how far they would be able to go in the state playoffs.
Well, they'd be on the brink of Class 2A and Class 3A, kind of pretty much in the bottom end of 3A, and there's been a lot of talk that there's a lot of top-heavy teams in the 5 and 6A bracket, which might push everything down a little bit. It'll be quite interesting to see when the pairings come out. And some talk on the sidelines from the referee with one of the coaches from Marian Central, and looks like that's been straightened out, and now we'll be ready to kick it off. Winkleman ready to do so.
They're talking on both sides, and I guess the Johnsburg coach is saying, help!
Well, I don't know what he's going to do. He may have to do some searching.
Or some quick surgery or something for his ball tape.
Now we're ready.
Back to receive it. We'll have Scott Bierman and Mike Cohan. Winkleman this time, high spinning kick. Goff wants to take it at about the 15. Goff looking to far side now, bouncing, and will be taken down from the back. Good tackle by Chris Truelson.
Fine tackle. The thing that I did not see on that tackle, one man made that tackle. And to me, if you're going to continue to have the intensity that you need to win a football game, you need to have more than one man in on a tackle. I think that's the only thing wrong I've seen Marian Central do tonight.
Well, Johnsburg to this point has 10 yards on the ground and 15 yards in the air, only 25 yards of offense. And we're midway through the second quarter, flags fly. And someone lined up off sides, possibly. Let's see, unless it's a delay of game.
I think the Marian Central guy was offside. He broke the plane, and that's why they called it.
Well, you know, the most interesting thing is, you know, you get these guys, not the linemen, but you get the outside guys. They come up to the line of scrimmage, and they always ask the referee, am I in the right spot? Mm-hmm. And the referee will tell them. And sometimes they don't pay attention, and then the referee just throws that flag. I think they take advantage of that situation sometimes. This is a handoff and some running room through the middle up to the 45, 46-yard line. Certainly did a good job in getting the yardage. Bierman. First down, and this will be a 16-yard pickup.
Now, that's the way the wing T is supposed to work. There was counteraction, there was a trap inside, some deception to try and fool the linebackers, to try and fool those defensive linemen, and consequently it was enough to pick up a first down.
First and 10 at the 45. Handoff, Jacobs coming to the near side. Has to break off a tackle, dragged down.
Late hit,
at the 45-yard line.
I can't believe there wasn't a flag on that.
Tony Gitzinger brought him down. Vandali came in with a little bit of a late hit, as Curtis says, but the referees didn't say anything on it.
Well, I guess that's why I'm up here and they're down there. I would have thrown the flag. Where's my handkerchief?
You better have a long stone on there.
Or a big one, huh?
It's got to reach the field. Second down and 6. 4-yard pickup for Jacobs.
Now they're running the football with a little more crispness in their blocking.
Fake handoff, Dudley, big rush coming on. He's got to do something with it. Throws it to the sideline, and now he can get rid of it. The coaches want to have an intentional grounding call, but nothing is going to be said. He did have a receiver down the field.
Yeah, about
Cohan was
yards.
about 10 yards beyond the throw. Referee's conferring. Now a flag is thrown.
I think the flag is going to be on the sideline.
I don't know. Let's see what it is. They are going to call intentional grounding.
Oh,
boy.
God, how can they call it this late? How can they call it that late?
Well, he did have a lot of help from the coaching staff. We got to admit that. Being on this near side of the field. And I know Hat Farlow's want to have a few words. He can't even come over and say something. One of the referees going to the far side to talk to him. It was a very late call. And you know, it's kind of interesting not to throw in the NFL. I mean, that's a higher level of football, different level. And being
different
at this level,
too.
of course, different rules. And, you know, being that he was going down, he was trying to get towards the receiver. He wasn't trying to dodge the football like he was throwing it out of bounds completely. He did look down the field, and he was throwing the football as he was coming down a little bit.
Well, actually, he did have a man downfield that if he had thrown the ball sooner, at least it would have been a contest between the wide receiver and the defensive back as to who was going to get the football.
So it's third down.
So loss of about 10 on the play, third down and 20. The motion up to the far side. Dudley, rush coming on, spinning, turning, throwing a wobbler up in the air, incomplete. He was trying to get the football to Hiller, and a good defensive play by Chris Truelson. Boy, that's one that could be picked off very easily.
You're absolutely right, but again, he wasn't sacked, nor was he called for intentional grounding. At least he gave the wide receiver a chance to get to the football. I'm not saying it's smart, but I'm saying that at least it would have been a contest. It was a contest between the defensive back and his wide receiver.
So fourth down and about 20. Dudley will be back to kick again. He's had a field day back there. He'll stand about his 23-yard line. Liska back at his own 28. Rush coming on, gets the football away, and it's bounding.
Pick it up,
zigzagging around. Liska picks it up at his 30-yard line. And big hit, and take him down at the 42.
Wow.
Apparently it was a good pop by Brian Dawson.
Boy, we heard the helmets pop that time.
6 foot, 165-pound senior. That was a 35-yard punt and about a 10-yard return.
See, that's what I'm talking about when you get on that sideline, how they try to punish you. If I had been hit like that, I took off my helmet, my shoulder pads, gave them to the coach, and said, good luck the rest of the year.
That's why I don't put on the shoulder pads or anything. I'm up here. 1st and 10, the Hurricanes with the ball at their own 42-yard line. Dowdy set out wide. McCoy, Gitzinger, and Liska in the backfield. This one's going to be a fake handoff. Klassen looking to throw far side of field. He's got McCoy. Nice catch. Not much yardage, only about a yard or two. Good job defensively on the play as Chad Camp was right there for the tackle.
The play was very well executed. It was a counter bootleg. The ball was thrown. It was an outstanding catch, but the end result was only maybe about a half a yard gain. It was very well played by that defensive linebacker for Johnsburg.
Third down and 8. We're under 4 minutes here in the second quarter. 25-0. Marian Central with the lead. 3-back set once again. Dowdy set up on the near side as a wide receiver. Klassen pitches it out. Liska trying to get some running room will be dragged down by the ankles. Only about a 3-yard gain. Chad Camp in on the tackle. And let's see who else was also in there. Looks like number 10, Derek Braun, was in there. And we have an injured player on the field, Scott Behrman.
Let's hope it's not too serious.
Maybe the wind knocked out. Tell you one thing, he's a tough ball player for this team. And
is he?
He's a good running back, also plays on the other side of the line, a two-way player. And when you play two ways these days, sometimes you really get worn out rather quickly.
Yeah, that's very true. It's just nice to see today with young men specializing in every area of athletics, and even just on one team. It's nice to see that there still are some guys that go two ways. That's rock'em sock'em old time football.
Well, the way the numbers are these days, sometimes you have to go that way, and you have to use both ways on the field. And talking to some coaches, they don't like to do that. But if you have no choice, you need to have these players go both ways. And these players can learn both sides of the football and maybe enhance their football.
Well, I'm looking at the Johnsburg sideline over there, and I don't think they have 20 extra guys over there that are not on the field. So you're absolutely right. They probably have a lot of guys that are playing both ways.
Now with the football playoffs coming up, Marian Central hoping to get in. The way things are going, they'll get the 6 victories. I mentioned a little bit of themselves trying to get into the playoffs with the opposing teams of non-conference opponents to help them, and they haven't had the help throughout the conference. This year's conference has been not one to be favorites. They were 4-20 in non-conference play, and Grant winning the conference last week. Basically beat this Marian Central team back in week number 1 of the conference, 30-19. Marian Central had problems late in the ball game. They could have won that game against Grant, and because of that game, Grant went on, and they've gone on to win the conference, and they'll represent the conference. But Marian Central is the only other team has a chance to make postseason play outside of not winning the conference title.
Well, that's why it's so important, Rusty, that you win those games early so that if you do happen to have a chance to get into the playoffs, you don't have to sit back and say, well, I hope someone beats someone so that we can get into the playoffs. That's exactly what Penn State is facing now in the Big Ten. They're having to sit back and hope for help for somebody to beat somebody so that they can get to the Rose Bowl. So all those early games, you've certainly got to try and win them.
And Scott Behrman got up under his own power, probably a cramp in the leg. And we mentioned when you play both ways. It is a cold night, though, and you kind of wonder, cramps usually, in my eyes, I don't think would settle in.
You know what his major problem was? He was right in the middle of that student body left.
You don't want to be in the middle of those, do you?
No.
So 3rd down and 6. Behrman off to the far side. It's good to see him get off and be healthy, at least better than being taken off on a stretcher. 3rd down and 7. Ball at the 45-yard line. Klassen looking to throw. Rush coming out. Pitch pass to Liska. He's got some running room, and he is being dragged down. Boy, look at the Skyhawks trying to hold on to him. Short gain of about 2. Matt Metzi was the one to bring him down.
That was that old University of Utah shovel pass. In fact, I saw a few teams last week in college do that very same thing. It's usually very effective, but this time Johnsburg reacted very well to it.
Winkleman back to kick, no rush once again. And this is a nice high kick taken by Cohan.
Reverse.
Cohan in a handoff, and fortunately Johnsburg did not lose the football. A 38-yard punt and a loss of about 2 as Brandon Goff was swarmed under.
You're absolutely right, because just as one of the young men was getting ready to hand the ball off, the other guy who got the ball was tackled immediately. So they were very fortunate that they did not lose that football.
Skyhawks will have the ball at the 18-yard line. Set up with a double wing. Brandon Goff set up on the near side. This is a handoff. Jacobs up to the far side, trying to strut it out wide. And a good tackle in the backfield.
Number 65 again.
Tim Day, 6 foot, 185-pound seniors, had a great year for these Hurricanes. Brought him down behind the line of scrimmage, maybe a loss of 1.
That was great, great sideline pursuit by Tim. He had the angle, he kept the angle, and consequently he made the tackle, and certainly they did not gain any yardage on the play. Outstanding football play by a defensive lineman.
Jacobs having problems carrying the football. 6 carries, only 7 yards. This is a handoff up the middle. Bierman pushing his way, dragged down. Got back to the original line of scrimmage, maybe near the 20-yard line.
There's a late flag.
Tim Day brought him down. Flag thrown in the secondary area.
Very late flag.
Let's see what the flag is on, or who it's on, I should say.
Might have been a late hit by a wide receiver downfield on a defensive back, a personal foul. Unnecessary roughness or something too. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, personal foul. That's what I thought.
Personal foul on Marian Central, and the Skyhawks will get an additional 15 yards, push the ball up to the 34.
Probably what happened after the play, a wide receiver caught a defensive back relaxing, and he waxed him. And that just goes to show you that you can't relax.
Back judge brings it up 15 more yards.
So Johnsburg has the ball up to the 34-yard line. Double wing set this time. Goff set up on the near side. Fake handoff. Dudley looking to throw. Rush coming on. Stumbling. Still on his feet. Now throws the ball as he was trying to get it to Bierman. Kind of a wise throw. Threw it in front of him as Dudley falls out of bounds.
Well, again, that was just simply a counteraction bootleg pass, and he just could not find anybody. And I think maybe what he should have done, as big and as strong as he is, was just put his head down and just took that sideline and said, "I dare you to tackle me."
Well, he certainly is big, 6'4", 195, and he stands at the top of that huddle, doesn't he?
He stands at the top of the other team's huddle also.
2nd and 10. Johnsburg a little confused out there. We'll take a timeout with 1:28 to go. And Half Farlow certainly has got to do something to get some points on the board before half, because they really haven't generated much. They've gotten more benefit off the penalty than they have on their yardage today.
Well, you're absolutely right. And again, from this vantage point, I think what I would again try to do is maybe run some bootleg quarterback plays with the big fella. Just let him run the football, and then let him every once in a while throw a pass. But I would really challenge them with my quarterback, because he is basically he's their only threat. And I would certainly challenge them.
Well, they've lost quite a bit of talent on this team. They were a lot stronger. We saw them at the start of the year with St. Edward when they beat them. And even the opening game of the year might have been a little sloppy, but they looked fairly good against Marengo. And they lost Sean Roby, a wide receiver who was a senior, Chad Germain, which was a strong running back in the backfield, 5'9", 170-pound senior. Then they also lost some linemen, Jason Guida, who was a good two-way player at 5'10", 200. He'll be back, though. He's only a junior. And then Kenny Michaels, 6'1", 217 pounds. He's a senior. And these 4 players, when you lose players that have a lot of potential, especially when you don't have that many numbers, certainly hurts a ball club like Johnsburg.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what Dan Hampton, the former Bear, says about the meaning of potential.
Second down. This is a pitch. Jacobs trying to string it out wide. Running out of room. Cuts it back. Almost found himself a good hole. Brought down by the ankles.
That was a great defensive play by the Marian linemen. They really strung that play out good. They stayed on their feet, caused the back to turn inside, and when he turned inside, he was tripped up. But they really strung that play out well.
3-yard gain on the play. Jess Scardo was in on the tackle for the Hurricanes. Skyhawks, if they're looking to get on the board, they got to do it a little bit faster to the line. We're under a minute to play here in the second quarter. Brandon Goff set out wide to the far side. Cohan on the near side. 2 set back, handoff, and up the middle.
That was a fumble, Rooski. That's number 63, ran the football.
Good catch on that, Curtis. That's a 6-yard pickup, and that's probably the best play we've seen here all night.
Yeah, the old Florida State fumble, Rooski.
One of the linemen, certainly. Corey Glenn was the one to do that.
Number 63, yes.
Dudley short drop this time, looking to the far side and complete the Brandon Goff. Makes a move and then gets the first down at the 44-yard line between 2 Marian Central players.
Yeah, that was a fine pass. It was just over the head of that outside linebacker. Certainly he was, if the pass had been just a little bit lower, he'd still be running for a touchdown. But it was very well thrown, just over his outstretched hands.
Yeah, that's the best we've seen out of John Paul Dudley. He stayed in the pocket, took a short drop, and just nice, easy throw there instead of trying to force the issue on the field.
Well, maybe that's what they're going to have to do is just short drop him instead of give him the 5 or the 7-foot drop, because when he does that, he's being pressured. So maybe we're seeing a change in philosophy here, which will maybe carry them into the second half.
Well, you've done coaching in the past, you said. You know, you get a team here down 25-0. It might be the last game of the season, but how do you keep the morale up on your team to basically try to get points on the board or try to work towards next season and putting in juniors?
Well, what you do is go to halftime and you sing a whole lot of spirituals and do a whole lot of praying at this point.
Unless you can get a big morale boost somewhere there to do something, definitely. So,
well, you know, being down 25-0 at this point, last game of the year for Johnsburg, it's kind of tough to get them up and keep them up.
Let's see if Johnsburg can put something on the board here. 44-yard line in Hurricane territory. Jacobs on a halfback option, looking to throw downfield. He's got Goff there. It's incomplete. Good defensive play by the Hurricanes. It looked like Tony Gitzinger was the one, and that one almost worked, but it was not the best pass from a halfback.
I think it was a very good passing. I mean, a very good play, and I think that if that halfback had a better arm, they would have scored a touchdown, because the young men had to come back to try and get the football, and by that time, all the people in the red jerseys had time to react to it.
Still 19 seconds on the clock, 2nd and 10. One back in the backfield this time. Short drop, Dudley to throw a pass. Nearly picked off.
Dangerous.
And this ball is incomplete. He was trying to get to Brandon Goff. Jason Van Dalle was there defending. He almost stepped up. That's an a la Harbaugh type play.
You know, I was getting ready to say, didn't that remind you of a Harbaugh pass from last Monday night?
You can't pick on that. The offensive line wasn't there.
Well, he's laughing all the way to the bank, so who are we?
You got to protect your quarterback, and that's something the Bears have not had in the last couple of years. Dudley rolling out, being staffed from behind, gets away, has running room, coming out to the near side, 30-yard line, and then tackled down about the 27. A lot of running, but he did get himself a first down. And in fact, they're going to call their last time out with 4 seconds to go.
Intelligent play by the young man, knowing the time was running out. But again, as I said, I think he is a very definite threat, and I would turn him loose and just see what he could do this second half against the Marian Central football team.
Well, let's see. I don't know if they got a kicker to go this far. I know Wakanda would certainly send their kicker out here.
Well, they better get
last week.
They better get Lou Groza or somebody back if they're going to kick it from this distance. Lou who? See, none of these young people know who Lou Groza is. See?
Well, who is he?
He's the old Cleveland Browns tackle. Tackle and place kicker.
Well, there's a history lesson for a lot of people today.
Being from the state of Ohio, I used to every Sunday live and die with the old Cleveland Browns.
I think they still do that up there in the dog pound, don't they? Now, if they did try it here, it'd be a 42-yard attempt. And, of course, we did see Pete Sabolka of Wakanda put in a 40-yarder last week. 4 seconds to go, last play of the quarter. They're going to send 3 receivers out towards the end zone. Pass over middle, Jacobs gets it, and then it's tackled down at the 20-yard line. So we are at halftime, 25-0. The Hurricanes, a commanding lead, and we're going to take a timeout. We'll come back with the second half. 25-0, the Hurricanes leading at halftime over the Johnsburg Skyhawks. Welcome back to Marian Central High School, getting ready for the second half of action. The Marian Central Hurricanes have a commanding lead of 25-0. I'm Rusty Silver, along with me this evening, Curtis Gentry. And Curtis, you know, the first half we saw everything to the likes of Marian Central for their liking, but Johnsburg, you know, we've talked quite a bit of what they need to do out here. They need help, obviously. Marian Central, though, they've done everything to what Coach Dave Prophet probably expected them to do.
Well, you're absolutely right, and you asked me before, what could you do with a Johnsburg team that's 25 points down at halftime? And I think that having been a former head coach and knowing, and I've been down 25 points at halftime also, about the only thing that you can do is go in and tell your team to keep their heads up, cut down on the mistakes, and just try to retain some symbolism of personal pride and team pride and school fights and school pride, and just go out and just fight your natural hearts out for dear old Johnsburg. But cut down, number one, cut down on the mistakes.
Well, first half statistics, Johnsburg, mainly a lot of the yardage late in the half on their final drive. They had 51 yards on the ground and 36 in the air. John Paul Dudley, a mere 3 of 8 for 36 yards plus 1 interception. Marian Central, a total of 224 yards, 221 of those on the ground, led by Jason Liska, 11 carries, 92 yards. And not to be outdone, Tony Gitzinger, 3 carries, 78 yards. So we have a potential to have 2 backs go over 100 yards the rate we're going this evening.
Well, that's super for Marian Central, and let's hope that, we'll see if Johnsburg coach has changed his offensive and defensively, his defensive philosophy here in this second half.
Cohan has the football, trying to break off, gets pushed down by one of the Marian Central players just coming through, and that was Andy Zolik. So Johnsburg will have the football at the 31-yard line. One of the Marian Central players slow getting up at the 27-yard line, and that looks to be Mark Salemi, the 5'9", 230-pound junior. And he's limping a little bit.
And the big guy's going to have to come out for a minute and see if he can shake that injury off and get back in there and see if he can get some more Johnsburg meat. But again, if I was Coach Farlow, I would certainly turn number 13 loose in this last game and let him show what he has.
Well, Johnsburg with the football at the 36-yard line. They set up in an I formation. Behrman and Jacobs behind Dudley. 2 wide receivers. Brandon Goff on the near side. Handoff, Jacobs off the right side. Gets some running room out across the 30-yard line up to the 32.
Off-tackle play, that was a fine run by that young man, because certainly there was no blocking at the point of attack, and he actually carried, for the 2 yards that he made, or the 1 yard, he actually carried a couple of ball players with him.
Lloyd Jacobs having a tough day carrying the football. 7 carries, 10 yards. It's almost a nightmare. Handoff, this time Behrman, a couple yards, up to the 36.
Isolation play. I think what they should have done was give it to the first back, because he came through there untouched by human hands. Unfortunately, they gave it to the second back, and he was tackled after a 2-yard gain.
So 3rd down and 6. Skyhawks trying to get themselves a first down to keep the drive going. Goff set up on the near side this time. Looking to throw. Slant pattern complete to Cohan. Nice spin move up near the 50-yard line. First down, gain of about 13 yards on the play. The tackle goes to Jim Klassen for the Hurricanes.
That was a fine pass, and I think that's probably going to have to be the Johnsburg mode of operation, and that's the short passes either to the sideline or right over the center, because that time the young man was free and clear.
Kind of mentioned that late in the second quarter. A
Yes.
short drop pass certainly worked for Dudley. Two wide receivers this time. Dudley, short roll, pass over the middle, complete to Goff. This should be enough near the first down marker. Mark just shy of the 40-yard line.
And it is a first down.
Enough for another first down for the Skyhawks.
Again, that was just a short rollout pass, which was complete. Again, they seem to be throwing the ball right over the middle. There seems to be a pocket there where nobody's guarding that area in the Marian Central zone defense.
We have an official timeout on the field. It's the infamous equipment problem. We've been plagued with this all year, Curtis. You haven't been around with this. We usually have to bring out one of our tools to help these players get things in order.
That is rough.
This is a handoff. Bierman, he's got some running room to the outside, uses the sideline, pushes off his own player, and then out of bounds. So I'd say credit the push out to Cahoan for the Skyhawks.
Now, what I'm seeing here, as opposed to what we saw in the first semester, we are not seeing the Hurricane defense play with the amount of intensity that they played with in the first half, being up 25-0. Obviously, they think that they have this football game won, which they probably do, but if they expect to go into the playoffs with any amount of intensity, they've got to hold it tonight.
Double set backfield, Jacobs and Bierman. Looking to throw this time, short drop pass, tipped up in the air. Intercepted. Looks like it's Jim Klassen over there on the interception at the 13-yard line.
That's really a shame, because Johnsburg had put together its first significant drive of the evening, and to have that ball go off of their intended receiver into the hands of the defensive back, certainly, as I said, it's just bad for them.
First and 10, Marian Central with the football. Dowdy set out fire to the top side of the field. Three set in the backfield. Handoff, running room, and not much. In fact, push back, maybe back to the line of scrimmage as a Skyhawks swarm Liska. And look at the excitement for the Skyhawks on the tackle. You know, you get the individual type of play out there. You're going to see a lot more of that.
That was a fine defensive play by number 8, Eric Wickenkamp.
They actually didn't give him any forward progress. They gave him the loss on the play. And it looked like he was all the way up back to the line of scrimmage. So a little bit of a benefit for the Skyhawks. So second down, long yardage to go, about 15. Ball's back to the 7-yard line. This is going to be a running play, and off the left side, gets a few yards back. A pickup, up to about the 10, 11-yard line.
That was student body left by the Hurricanes, and he managed to get by the line of scrimmage, but then the defense closed on him relatively quick and stopped him after about a 3 or 4 yard gain.
Ball's up near the 10-yard line. Third down, long yardage for the Hurricanes. Let's see if we see something interesting on this play. Usually third downs, Marian Central likes to get something to counter out here. Klassen handoff right up in the middle there. Liska trying to shake off a tackler, will not do so. Good tackle on the play by the Skyhawks.
You are absolutely right. They did do something odd, not odd, but something different. That was a counter trap, and if it had not been for that shoestring tackle by that defensive back, then Liska would probably still be running for a touchdown.
Chad Camp was the one to bring down Liska. Winkleman back in his end zone. Rush coming on, gets the ball away. A high kick coming to the near sideline. Will get a good bounce and drop and fall at the 20, or make it the 40-yard line.
Great field position for the Johnsburg team, and so hopefully they can get that momentum back that they had the last series of downs and maybe put together a score. Again, the major thing for them at this point is that they do not make any mistakes.
That was a 30-yard punt. Skyhawks have the football at the 40-yard line. Brandon Goff set up to the far side along with Camp. Split backfield, handoff Bierman off the right side. He's got some running room. We'll pick up about 4 or 5 on the play. Bunch of Hurricanes in on the tackle, led by Andy Zolik.
Surprisingly enough, that off-tackle play without a lead blocker has been working very well all night for Johnsburg. It seems to always pick up 4 or 5 yards. So, hey, why not run it until the Hurricanes stop it?
Second down, let's call it along 5. Fake handoff, Dudley to throw. He's got Goff on the far side. Breaks away and then tackled down at the 21-yard line. Pick about 15 on the play.
I'm sorry, Rusty. At this point, Johnsburg, the coaches are calling a much more intelligent football game. I do believe they're running when they're supposed to run. They're mixing in some passes, but they're the short passes, and they're not letting the big guy, or attempting to let the big guy drop back and throw anything long.
2 wide receivers set up on the near side, Cohan and Goff. Handoff up the middle, and Bierman, good running room, will pick up a few yards. He'll get himself up to about the 16-yard line, a gain of 6 on the play.
Again, it was that same off-tackle play without a lead blocker. And so the coaches are saying, we're going to run this until you stop it. And I don't see any reason why they should, because, again, Marian Central has not stopped that play all night.
Jacobs set up in the backfield with Bierman. Cohan is one of the tight ends. This is a keeper out to the far side. Jacobs with it. Goes towards the end zone, will slip, fall near short of the goal line, about the 3-yard line.
Around the end, it was a counter-action play with the young man running around the end, and it had not been for a shoestring tackle at the 3-yard line, he would have gone in.
Marian Central calling timeout. Dave Proffitt coming on the field to talk to the defense. This gives us a good time to talk a little bit about the other conference in the Fox Valley. And, you know, Curtis, you haven't had a chance to hear much about this conference. It's been a pretty exciting one, and too bad we don't have a chance to see much of the teams out there. McHenry we had a chance to see earlier in the season, where they lost to Stevenson in a big turnabout momentum game. They had a lead early and then fell to them towards the second quarter, and then lost to them handily by 14 points. But the way things are in the Fox Valley, 3 teams coming into the last weekend tied with a 5-1 record. Those 3 teams basically are into the postseason play. McHenry, Crystal Lake South are going on, along with one other team, and Dundee Crown and Jacobs trying to get in there. It's very interesting. These teams, the way they fight over there, they have a chance to do something in postseason.
Well, it looks like to me that what they're doing is just knocking each other off, and then hoping again at the end of the year that somebody does them a favor. So that means you've got to play to win every football game.
The other team in my mind lost Cary Grove of all teams. How can I forget the Trojans? Handoff, Bierman up the middle, fighting his way. Is he in? I don't see a signal, and there it is. Bierman does get in. He fought hard with his legs. Goes in from 3 yards, and Johnsburg is on the board.
It was that very same play that they've run, I know, at least 2 other times during that drive, that Marian Central has not been able to stop, and it's just simply man-on-man blocking, but they just haven't seemed to have stopped it, and consequently that time it scored a touchdown. And I've always been a firm believer that whatever plays bring you down the field, I believe those same plays you should run and score with.
Skyhawks going for 2. Dudley rolling out, looking to throw, goes to the far side, incomplete. He was trying to get it to Jacobs, and Jacobs didn't look like he was all that ready for the football.
Well, he wasn't, and it wasn't that good of a pass anyway. But what has impressed me is the fact that this half, after being down 25-0, that Johnsburg has come back with a lot of spirit. To this point, they've cut down on their mistakes. They're playing good, crisp, hard-hitting football on the defense. They're executing on the offense, and Marian Central seems to have let down just a little bit in their intensity, and if they don't watch out, this ball game is far from being over. We've got a lot of time left.
Well, 6:04 to go, third quarter. Johnsburg finally on the board on the 3-yard run from Scott Bierman. So 25-6 to score. Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of time left. 6:04 in the third quarter. You still got another whole quarter and a half, and you never know what can happen in a football game, but I don't think Johnsburg has enough to make miracles out here.
Well, you may or may not be right, but it ain't over till it's over. Or until the fat lady
true.
sings or something like that?
Yep, that is definitely true.
Dudley will be kicking off for Johnsburg.
So Dudley will kick it off.
Liska and Klask will be deep for the Hurricanes.
Liska, Klassen, and Dowdy set back about their 10-yard line. Dudley with a high
Good
spinning
kick.
taking it about the 8-yard line. Klassen looking for a wedge.
He's
He's got one
he's
right
got
to the
it.
hole. One man to stop him, Dudley. He's going to take his speed to the outside. 40, 35, 30, and pushed out of bounds at the 23-yard line.
Well, what happened was that the big quarterback really played it smart that time because he took his angle, he kept his angle, and consequently he was able to bring the young man down on the sideline because it was a foot race at that point, and the ball carrier was not able to get away from him. Number 13, Dudley, is a very fine athlete.
65-yard kickoff return for Jason Liska out to the 22-yard line for the Skyhawks. Klassen. Long count. Handoff. Gitzinger takes it out wide. He's got room to the outside. Cuts it back and then taken down. A gain of 3 or 4 yards on the play. Looked like Jacobs was over there in the tackle for the Skyhawks.
You know, I'm looking at number 13, John Paul Dudley, and as I said, I think that this young man, if someone can get him in their college program, they're going to have
Second and 7 for the Hurricanes.
because when the game first started, he was playing in the defensive backfield, and I noticed that that time he was playing defensive right end. So he's a very versatile young man.
3-yard pickup on the play. Handoff. McCoy through the middle, fights his way near the first down marker. He'll be short by a couple of yards. Looked like Scott Bierman was in on the tackle. So this will make it 3rd down, short yardage.
It's really a shame that. Well, I don't want to say a shame, but I will say that it's just unfortunate that Marian Central had that long kickoff return because it looked like to me that Johnsburg really had them back on their heels at the beginning of this quarter.
Handoff. Liska out to the outside. He'll get the first down and then be tackled down by at least 4 or 5 Skyhawks on the play. Cohan leading the way. So this will be a first down out about the, looks like the 11-yard line. Liska now, 15 carries, about 97 yards.
Sandwiches on sale for $1. Let's send somebody down.
Getting hungry already, huh? I knew this game brings an appetite. 1st and 10. Handoff. Liska, and up the middle. He doesn't get much there. Skyhawks picked that play up pretty good.
Yeah, they had that one young man trying to pick up his number 8. Eric Wickenkamp again. Seems to be a fine young football player. He penetrated even though there were 2 isolation blockers in front of him and made the tackle. That showed me a lot of guts for a young man his size, or with his lack of size.
2nd and 8.
So 2nd down and 8. First down can be made just inside the 1-yard line. Tight formation this time. And handoff up the middle. This ball was nearly fumbled. Fortunately, it looked like McCoy was the one to get the football.
Loose ball, however, it's recovered by Marian.
Yeah, what Marian tried that time was a fake pitch and a delay to the fullback, and the play developed very slowly, and the Johnsburg linemen were able to penetrate and almost took the handoff. One of them almost took the handoff by himself.
So 3rd down situation. Call the ball at the 9-yard line.
Will he run or will he pass?
Yeah, this is a good setup here for Dowdy near the corner of the end zone. Let's see. 3-back set. Klassen takes the pitch. Liska on the reverse to Dowdy. Dowdy makes a move, cuts it back, right in the middle, fights it way into the end zone for a touchdown. 9 yards on the reverse for a touchdown. The Hurricanes increase the lead to 31-6.
Very well conceived play. They had been running that student body right, student body left, and they started the student body right that time and gave the ball to Dowdy, the wide receiver. All of the Johnsburg players were over on one side. The quarterback and another blocker was out to the left blocking. Hey, touchdown.
I thought they might want to go to pass to Dowdy, but Dowdy's still in the picture on that one. Sometimes they like to use that pass play, put him in the corner of the end zone, and place it right there.
Just as good as a pass.
Well, Tony Gitzinger will try to improve his average on extra points tonight. High snap, placement down, kick up, and through the uprights. 2:43 to go, third quarter, 32-6. Marian Central increasing their lead.
Well, what Marian has done after that long kickoff return, they've got their offensive mentality and their intensity back and just drove that ball right on in. And this is what actually a coach likes to see, where a team gets down. They had a touchdown scored against them, and they came right back and scored a touchdown themselves.
By the way, before the game's over, we'll pick our prep player of the game as we normally do. And I know last week mentioned about our Player of the Year award, and we had 4 players that we had to make a consensus from amongst the area. And we mentioned those 4 players: Ryan Bolin, Jason Liska, Brent Burris, and Lloyd Jacobs.
Winkleman will be kicking off for the
And I must admit, even picking those 4 players were tough, because there are other players amongst the conference that really deserve some good honorable mention, that are outstanding football players. John Paul Dudley being one of them from this team, and he's had an off-on year, but a very good ball player here. And Robert Swanson over at Round Lake, he's had a pretty good year at quarterback. And also Jason Morris, another player that's strong from Round Lake. I can name more if I want to. Line drive kick, taken about the 20-yard line, going through the middle, and finally tackled down at about the 34. About a 15-yard return.
Now let's see if Johnsburg can get their offensive mentality back and just not hurt themselves. And I think that's probably what they were told at halftime. Let us not hurt ourselves. If we get stopped or get pushed back, let the Hurricanes do it, but let's don't do it to ourselves.
Fake handoff
Counter
this time,
trap.
and it's up in the middle. Behrman running room, 50, 45, 40, turning the corner to 35, tackled at about the 32-yard line. Looked like Dowdy was the one with the saving tackle.
That was simply no more than it was a counter trap, and again, that's why the wing tee should be run. The blocking was crisp at the line of scrimmage, and they fooled them by doing some counter action in the backfield, making them guess as to where the ball was going. Consequently, a huge gain for Johnsburg.
Behrman, a 34-yard pickup on the play, and he shows that speed. We saw that a few weeks ago at Round Lake. He can break it open for touchdowns. This time a keeper by Dudley, looking to throw to the far side, and it's incomplete. Good coverage on the play. They were trying to get the ball to Tim Hiller.
I think Rusty, more than the coverage, I think that if the big quarterback had thrown the ball maybe 2 steps sooner, then the receiver would have had the chance to catch the ball and tuck it in. But I think he waited just a little bit too long. As soon as the ball got there, he was hit by the defensive back, and it was shook out of his hands.
Dudley now 5 of 13 for 75 yards with 2 interceptions, but looking a little bit better here in the second half. This is a handoff. Behrman, nowhere to go. Finally falls forward, a loss of about 1 or 2 on the play.
Not very good execution on that counteraction sweep. Again, there seemed to be some confusion in the backfield, and so the Hurricane linemen were able to penetrate and stop him for a loss.
Jim Scarta was the one to make the tackle, and Marian Central really read that play off.
Oh yeah, they sure did.
Golf set up on the far side, double wing set this time. Jacobs in motion up to the far end. Dudley looking to throw, has outside. A blocker in front of him, uses the sideline, now goes in the middle, complete. He's got his receiver short of the first down marker. Cohan was the one to bring it down. Gitzinger defending.
That was an outstanding pass by the young quarterback, because he was running through the right and threw the ball back across his body. Even I haven't seen Jim Harbaugh do that well this year.
Well, the referee gave him a first down. They moved the ball up a yard on the spot, so a 10-yard pickup on the play. Skyhawks in business at their 20. Two wide receivers set up near side. Handoff Bierman. Cuts through the middle. Breaks through about 3 tackles. Still on his feet and right into the end zone. What durability for Scott Bierman. Goes in from 20 yards. He shook off at least 3 or 4 tackles.
Well, as I said before, if they don't stop it, let's keep running it. And it was that same off-tackle play without a lead blocker that they scored on that time. Very well executed. Of course, there were some missed tackles along the way, but that's football also.
Second touchdown for Bierman. Scored earlier in the quarter from 3 yards out. Now has 10 carries for 98 yards.
I think that what's going to happen is that Johnsburg isn't going to lose this football game. They're just going to run out of time.
Going for 2. Dudley rolling out, will be tackled in the backfield. A big tackle on the play. Tim Day, 6 foot, 185-pound senior, really showed how quick he can get in the backfield.
Johnsburg has really come back and has really shown me something this half, because being down 25 points at halftime, they really could have folded up their tent and stopped playing football and just let Marian Central run them out of here. But they've come back. They scored 2 touchdowns. They put 2 nice drives together, and that has shown me that they sure do have a lot of character.
We'd like to thank the rescue squad.
So 33 seconds to go here in the third quarter. 32-12. Skyhawks at least are making themselves look like they're here tonight by getting on the getting on the board.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, they've shown me something, and they show me what kind of stock they're made out of, because they've come back. As I said, they could have folded their tents and went home, went on back down the road, and got just completely run out of here. But they've come back very nicely.
Excellent announcing job this year, along with Coach Kevin Dix. Appreciate their fine help up here.
Marian Central ready to get the football back again. They set back there with Dowdy, Klassen, and Liska.
Injuries all year for many, many years.
Dudley ready to kick it off again. Well, he's been busy back there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he
Punting,
has.
throwing, doing the kickoffs. Might have to ice the arm, ice the leg, and everything else before the night's over. Onside kick, and this one rolls out of bounds. You know, this one only went 2 yards, but I got to tell you something. The game at Round Lake, I've never seen this happen before. They tried an onside kick on the opening kickoff. It went -5 yards.
-5 yards?
Yes, the ball went forward, it rolled backwards.
Without anybody hitting it?
Nobody hitting it. They took the ball out of bounds at the 35. And Round Lake was in business. They couldn't score 4 plays later. Well, you never know the way that ball's going to bounce out there.
Oh, that's true. It takes funny bounces.
And this is well, it looks like they're going to, let's see, take it right there at the 42, I would assume.
I don't know. I don't know what the coach's thinking was, but there's still too much time left in the ball game to try an onside kick. Now they've got to defend against a team that has the ball on about their 42-yard line.
Handoff, Liska's got running room, spins off one, spins off a second one, and then tackled down across the 35 to the 34-yard line. Tackler Eric Wickenkamp, the junior that we keep mentioning.
There's an injury out there, big guy. I think it's his leg.
I hope that's not Sam Posey there, because he's the biggest guy out there on the team. We mentioned how big he was.
Well, he's getting up on his own
6'4", 280 pounds.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see him getting up and jogging off.
That's one guy you don't want to be under.
That's also one guy you don't want to make too angry.
That's Johnsburg's icebox they carry around. 2nd down and 2. Pickup of 8 on the play. Liska now over 100 yards on the day, 17 carries, 107, with a couple other things he's done. Handoff. Coming in near side, good running room, takes a pop, Gitzinger still on his feet, driving forward, and then pushed back to the 25.
Counter sweep that time by the Hurricanes. There is a flag down, but that was a counter sweep.
And let's see what the flag is, and this most likely will I don't think this will be a play in the same quarter, but we'll see, because it's maybe is against the offense.
Can't stop on a defensive penalty.
Looks like tripping was charged. Was that 5 minutes in the penalty box here? Or just back 10 or 15 yards? But either way, that's going to end the third quarter. So 32-12 the score. Marian Central with the lead, looking for their 6th victory of the season. Let's take a timeout with Marian Central leading by 20.
And they brawl in the center of the ring. Evander Holyfield showing his warrior heart.
Round 10.
An uppercut, and just like that, the champion struggles to stay on his feet. Look at Holyfield. What a warrior.
It just kept coming.
The fight of the year.
The champion now has bone wobbling. You've seen the best of both men.
I'll get my revenge. I will repeat.
Bo Holyfield live from Caesar's Palace.
Welcome back to Marian Central, and apparently the third quarter didn't come to a close with the penalty, so this will be the last play of the third quarter. 32-12 the score. Second down and about 14. Klassen taking himself, pitches it out. Liska running out of room will just go out of bounds. He gets hit along the sideline. 3 Skyhawks gave him a hit. Talk about getting up rather quickly. He certainly did. He gained about 3 or 4 yards on the play.
I'll tell you, that Marian quarterback's a very intelligent guy, because he looked down that line of scrimmage and saw all of those Johnsburg players coming in, and he pitched it, and that running back was really crunched on the sideline.
So at the end of the third quarter, 32-12, and just a reminder coming up here on TCI that when we go to playoffs coming up next week, we're not sure which game we're going to be doing, if it'll be Marian Central, maybe McHenry, or one of the other Fox Valley teams. Mark down, though, here are the times of the games. We'll have them Thursday at 7 and then Monday at 4:55. And, of course, we know a lot of times McHenry gets shuffled up with from the some of the Rockford schools, and that could happen again. We're not sure where they might be headed, but some of the other Fox Valley teams, Cary Grove and Dundee Crown and Crystal Lake South, where they might be headed. Dundee Crown may be getting into the playoffs. We'll see. They have to win their final game, but most of those teams being 5A, and a lot of times when they put together the pairings, Rockford usually tends to come here, and those teams out of the Nick-9, we know how powerful they are. Rockford Jefferson, Rockford East, Rockford Guilford, Freeport, better known as the Pretzels, and Belvedere might be taking on one of our teams. Once again, the times Thursday at 7, Monday at 4:55. Start of the fourth quarter, 32-12 the score. Marian Central on a third down and about 13. Dowdy set out to the near side. 3-back set. Klassen. Fake handoff, looking to throw, wants to go deep down the sideline. He's got Dowdy open, makes a great catch inside the 10 at about the 8-yard line.
What a great catch by Jim Dowdy. The ball was very well thrown. But I'll tell you this, I cannot blame that cornerback, because the safety man should have been there to help him. Where in the world was the safety man? The ball stayed in the air a long time, and that's why they call that position safety, because they're supposed to be back there to help those cornerbacks. So I'm going to blame the safety man for the reception of that pass, and not the cornerback.
35-yard gain on the play. Longest pass from scrimmage tonight by Jim Klassen. First catch, actually, for Dowdy. This is a pitch. Liska has blocking in front of him. Cuts it out to the outside. Has running him towards the end zone. He'll get in. Jason Liska takes in a touchdown from 10 yards. Marian Central on the board once again.
Well, I guess if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Johnsburg has not stomped that student body right, or the student body left to any great degree tonight. So the Marian coaches are saying, well, let's run it until they stomp it. They ran it that time. Consequently, 6 points.
Liska's third touchdown on the evening. He's got his hat trick. He scored from 13, 5, and now from 10.
Liska's having an outstanding evening as a running back, a very outstanding evening.
So now Jason Liska putting numbers on the board, well over 100 yards, about 115 yards on the evening. High snap, Gitzinger gets the ball away with a nice little hook through the uprights. 11:27 to go. Hurricanes increase the lead back to 27 as they lead 39-12.
The hook on that point after looked like one of my golf shots.
Must have been a pretty good wedge, huh?
About a good 7-iron, I guess. I usually hook my 7-iron. But that was a fine drive that was put together by the Marian Central Hurricanes. And again, they're just showing their superiority, good coaching that they've had. And again, they're just showing that they have the better football team this evening.
Johnsburg's going to have to put themselves together for next year. I know Farlow, they've never made the playoffs there at Johnsburg, and they've always tried every year. They've come close a few times in the last few years, and hopefully Johnsburg can put things together. They're going to have to reload next year. They lose a quarterback, John Paul Dudley, who's been a pretty good quarterback the last year or two, but who knows? They have a lot of juniors on this team. Maybe they can come back and hopefully get some help at the lower levels, and maybe Johnsburg can put things together next year.
Well, Rusty, John Paul does so much. You know, he kicks, he passes, he runs the football, he plays defense, he plays offense. Those are very big shoes to fill. Not intelligent.
Ball will be just falling on at the 17-yard line. Scott Bierman.
And I have noticed that they have taken John Paul Dudley, their quarterback, off the defensive unit, which I think is a smart thing for the coaches to do.
Well, the Skyhawks, let's see, they've generated 2 touchdowns in this half, basically on their last 2 drives. And they could have had 3 outside of the tip pass for an interception by Jim Klassen.
Showed a lot of class, a lot of spunk.
Skyhawks 2 wide receivers on the far side. Marciniak in motion. This is a pitch. Some running room off the left side. Jacobs will still be on his feet and then tackle down at about the 31-yard line. Boy, was that slow and moving. That almost looked like slow motion.
Well, what happened on that was that all of the Marian Central players were standing around waiting for someone else to make the tackle. And while they were standing around waiting for the other guy to make the tackle, the Johnsburg ball player was just running the ball right through them. This must be the Hurricanes' second unit in there.
It's very possible. Give the players some time to play out there. This being the 4th quarter, and you're up by 27. Dudley wanted to send one of his wide receivers to the near side. Now Dudley, rush coming on, eludes the rush. Looking to throw, goes over the middle. He's got Brandon Goff spinning, and then finally going down. He's got first down yardage of about 11, and hanging on to him was Chris Nixon, was the first one to bring him down basically by the ankles.
It was certainly a good play by John Paul Dudley. There seems to be right in the middle of that zone defense of the Hurricanes, just beyond the linebackers, just in front of the defensive back. There's a hole there, and that's the area that's being attacked very successfully this half by Johnsburg.
Brandon Goff now 4 receptions for 52 yards. This is a running play. Behrman, enough yardage for a first down up to the 46-yard line in Hurricane territory.
That time it was an off-tackle counter play, and that time they did have a lead blocker. Good enough for a first down, fine piece of running, and sufficient blocking at the point of attack.
Brandon Goff will set up on the far end. Cohan on the near side, split backfield. Bierman and Jacobs. Dudley. Fake handoff, pass over to the near side. He's got Cohan, and this will be a gain out near the 40. 5-yard pickup on the play.
They're just playing good, intelligent football, not trying to get it all at once, just getting it in 5, 6, 7-yard chunks, not making any mistakes to hurt themselves, and this is what they need to do, again, to keep their heads up and to show some air of respectability.
John Paul Dudley 5 of 8 in this second half. Pocket unfolding and fumble football. Let's see if they call it down. Dudley was hit on the ground when he lost the football.
Well, I don't blame him. If someone had hit me hard in the chest like that, I'd let the football go too. He was thumped.
He's fortunate that he can get up on that.
You're right.
Dudley coming, looking to the far side for the play. So 3rd down and about 7. That's really the first time that Dudley's been pulled back behind the line of scrimmage. He's been able to elude the Hurricane rush. Cohan in motion near side. Fake handoff, Behrman. Dudley looking to throw, gets hit, throws downfield.
He threw it away.
And out of bounds. I didn't even see a receiver in that area.
Well, you know, what happens is that the receivers are going downfield, and when Dudley gets pressured, they stop running. And what they actually should do when he gets pressured is just keep running, because he would be able to get the ball to them, as he would have been on that play had that receiver kept running.
Now 4th down, and the Skyhawks really have nothing to lose. They might as well go for it. This time they send 3, or make it 2 wide receivers. Cohan trying to get off the field quickly. Split backfield. Fake handoff. Dudley to throw over the middle. It is nearly picked off by Jim Klassen. He wanted to get Brandon Goff, but the pass was overthrown.
The ball was not very well thrown. He was running back to his left and was trying to throw across his body. He's done that successfully a couple of times tonight, but that time the tip of the ball was floating upwards instead of spiraling as it should, a good tight spiral, and so it went over the receiver's head. But you can't blame that young man. He's had an outstanding night this evening.
So 1st and 10 for the Hurricanes, and apparently we're going to see the same players in the lineup, a little bit variation in the backfield as Andy Zolik has joined the backfield. This is a handoff. Liska running room, bouncing off one of the Skyhawks, tackled down across midfield to the 47-yard line. Dudley came in and made the tackle.
That was a counter trap off of the power eye, and again, we see the versatility of John Paul Dudley. He was playing defensive end, threw off his blocker, and made the tackle, albeit it was about 9 yards down the field, but at least he was in on the tackle.
A 9-yard pickup on the play, and Marian Central calls timeout, and I wonder if we'll see some shuffling of players and maybe get some of the youngsters in here.
Well, they probably will. I think that at this point, basically, they still have their first unit in there. We've got about 8 minutes left, and I would tend to think that with the score as it is 39-12, that we'll see some of these younger ball players come into the ball game, get some game experience to get them ready for next year.
Well, I wouldn't say next year. It all depends. They could possibly be in the playoffs.
Well, that's true, too.
And you never know. You get your players some extra experience anytime you can, because if they can make it to the playoffs, you can rest some of these players, because if you get in the playoffs, you go right back at it, basically 3-4 days later, and it's quick. I mean, it's really quick. You're playing 3 games in 4 days, or in 1 week, I should say. And so it's the last year that's going to happen, and thankful for that, because it can be hard on the players having 3 games in just 1 week, and you get a lot of injuries.
Yeah, this is just at the high school level, and why do you want to put these youngsters under that kind of strain? They don't even do that in the big shows.
And at least they'll give the coaches, players, and everybody else an extra day off at the end of the season. 2nd down. Handoff. Liska's got the sideline. 40, 35. He may outrun. He's going to go down 15, 10, 5, into the end zone. Liska going all the way 47 yards for another Hurricane touchdown.
Off tackle play. Good blocking at the point of attack. The young man was able to outrun the rest of once he got past the linebackers, he was able to outrun the Johnsburg secondary.
47-yard touchdown run, and Liska piling on the yardage, gets his 4th touchdown of the evening. 7:51 to go, and now Liska's coming off the field. Gets a big hug from, I don't know who that is. That might be his dad out there. I don't know. Or one of the coaches, either way. One of the players, I should say.
Well, I said it ain't over till it's over. But I think that at this point, with roughly 8 minutes left, 45-12, I think this game is over. The only thing now that's left to be done, again, is just for the Johnsburg young men to keep their heads up and still play some rough and tumble football, showing everybody that they do have some character, and that the Johnsburg Skyhawks do not quit.
Gitzinger with the extra point has things rolling now with his third, or make it fourth consecutive extra point after struggling early on. So 46-12, 7:51 to go. Marian Central has everything in their favor. The only thing is maybe Dave Profit can be a prophet and get on the phone and get some help from some other teams. Actually, an outstanding job all year. He's only a sophomore.
You're kidding.
Nope.
You wouldn't kid me, would you?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. Even throw another line for you in a second here. This is going to be tackle back after maybe back to the line of scrimmage. And Jason Liska tonight only had 4 touchdowns, a 65-yard kickoff return. Has touchdowns 13, 5, 18, and 47 yards. And unofficially having 21 carries, 176 yards. And, of course, he had won our, believe it or not, a Prep Player of the Year award. It's so hard to give it to an underclassman, but he certainly has proved how good of a player he is. And I understand he is a 3-sport athlete here at the school outside of football. He gets involved in a couple other sports, baseball. And what an all-around athlete he is.
He has certainly been very productive this evening.
Third down. Claxton running room himself. He's got a hole blocking down the field. Nobody's going to get him. He's into the end zone for a touchdown. The Hurricanes break 50 on a 46-yard touchdown run as Claxton had a great downfield block.
Well, actually, it isn't anything that we did not expect. They've been outpowering, overpowering, and just running as at will, basically, against Johnsburg. So that long run really did not surprise me at all. It just puts another nail in the coffin in this football game.
By the way, I was also told his other sport that I couldn't think of at the moment was wrestling. I mean, with that, I think Liska's going to come up here and pin me for that one.
Well, it just shows, being a wrestler and a football player, that he has a lot of mental toughness.
And a baseball player, and a pretty good one. He was in the Continental Baseball World Series that we showed back in August. Gitzinger ready to try for the extra point, and it's going to be a faker. Claxton looking to throw into the end zone. It's up in the air, and it's caught.
Well, I don't know how the Johnsburg coaches are going to take that. They're up by 40-some points, and they fake an extra point and go for 2 points. I don't think that's the way to end a football game. And if I was the Johnsburg head coach, I'd be tremendously upset about that.
54-12. Now here over the years,
they've put on 2 good shows for me these 2 years that I've been out here to see them play. But again, my head is certainly off to Johnsburg. They did not quit.
Last play of the game, and Dudley wants to throw. Coming to this near side. He throws it towards the end zone to Marciniak,
Touchdown.
and he makes the catch. With 2 seconds left, a 26-yard pass play, and Dudley's got his hands up to take the enjoyment of it. His last touchdown as a senior.
Well, as I said, they did not quit. They did not quit, which is a credit to them and to their coaching staff. And that young man, John Paul Dudley, if I were still a college football coach, I'd love to have him on my side. He's done an outstanding job here this evening. I'm sure they'll be going for, well, I would think that they'll be going for the 2-point conversion.
And they want to make it up to 20 and look like, hey, we made it into the 20s against Marian Central. Dudley looking to throw, goes to the far side, and it's complete. They get the 2-point conversion, so it's 54-20. And with 2 seconds left, we'll see a kickoff, and that'll about do it. And the Marian Central Hurricanes will finish the season at 6-3. They'll go to the conference record at 4-1. And if it wasn't for the opening conference day against Grant, they might have been conference champs.
Well, again, it's tough to sit back at the end of the season and wait for somebody to beat somebody in order for you to advance. That's the reason why those games at the beginning of the year are so important, and that's so that you've got to try and win them all, because you never know what's going to happen down the line.
Of course, Johnsburg only 1 victory throughout the regular season before conference play. They did beat Grays Lake last week 28-22, so their conference record will finish up at 1-4, and basically only 2 victories and 7 losses with a lot of rebuilding to do because Half Farlow is going to lose some seniors that are important to him, but he's going to have a lot of youth on this team next year.
Well, someone said about, I think it was Richard Dent, when he first talked to Coach Wanstaff of the Bears, he said, Coach, I don't want to be on a team that's rebuilding, but just on a team that's reloading. So maybe that's what Coach Half Farlow was thinking about.
I'm still thinking of how the Bears are reloading the offensive line.
Yeah, right. They need to reload that offensive line. Onside kick, watch.
Let's see how many yardage we get here. It's a forward one, and let's see what kind of razzle-dazzle we get here on the final play here. And nope, we're not going to see anything too exciting except for Johnsburg topping Andy Young at the 42-yard line. Well, Marian Central, they have their 6 victories. The question is, do they get in? That's what we'll have to wait and see. Thank you, Curtis, for joining us here in this ball game. Also like to thank Marian Central, the coaches, the players, and also the athletic director, Jim Speaker, for letting us do the broadcast here at Marian Central High
Thank you.
School.
Always my pleasure, Rusty, to work with you.
Now we'll see what happens in the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see on who we're going to be following, if it's going to be McHenry or somebody from the Fox Valley or even Marian Central. Final score once again, 54-20. Marian Central a winner tonight over the Johnsburg Skyhawks. I'm Rusty Silver. So long, everybody.